I'm Lisa Steinberg. I have this extreme pleasure to have the chance to chat here today with Sara Tomko from the wonderful series Resident Alien. It's so funny, it's so reverent, it's got heart, it's got humor, it's got aliens.
It's got everything. Lisa, I'm so excited to see you again.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have the chance because have deeply loved this show since the get-go, since the very beginning in season one, and it's become such a treasure to so many because it's so quirky, it's so sweet, it's so, like rambunctious and hygiene. Like it's got, like we said, it really does have everything.
It does. A
Resident
rambunctious is such a good word for it, too. Way to go.
I mean, who would think like the tiny baby alien named Bridget and like all this clever.
That's so funny. I was just talking to Chris the other day, Chris Sheridan, our showrunner, and he was telling me that the reason he named her Bridget was because she is a bridge between humans and aliens. And I was like, oh, we're getting poetic. We're getting poetic with Bridget.
It's not like a grandmother's name; it's an actual like connection.
No, he's always thinking it, and he's got little Easter eggs everywhere. Like last week's episode, I did not realize this, but the hybrid alien Joseph, I won't say much if people haven't seen it yet, but he does this like walk away, sort of a walk of shame down the street. And apparently the theme to the Hulk was playing. And I recognized the music, but I didn't know why. And I found out later it was the Hulk theme. And I think he was just making a comment on the kind of character that Joseph is. And that's what Chris loves to do. He loves to put little Easter eggs in there, little meaningful tokens for fans to find and for himself too.
Oh my gosh, the writing on this series is just so clever and sharp, and it just is like it's just you never know what's gonna come out of course Harry's mouth.
I know. No
You know.
filter Harry.
And Alan plays that delivery. Everybody plays the delivery just so well amongst each other. You talk about being a well-oiled machine at this point.
Yes.
I mean, the caliber of writing, and of course now they're talking about the Easter eggs that will come to keep an eye on as well. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, what is it that really kind of continues to impress you about this wonderful collaborative team? We talk about Chris, of course, at the head, but the writing
Yes.
staff as well, just as much, and everything that goes along with the series.
I think the experience I've had so far with the cast, with the crew, with the writing team, even with the producers, we all have such a great chemistry, which is so important. It's not just the chemistry you see on screen. We have an incredible chemistry off screen too. We have a really great, respectful working environment and relationship with one another. Um, I'm I just am so floored by the professionalism of our crew, how amazing they are. We're so lucky to have worked with, I think, about 50% of the same crew all the way through from season one. And so we've built relationships and we've gone through a lot as a show, as a people, as a community, as an Earth species. We've gone through a lot since this show has aired, which has been quite sort of meta, honestly, for our show and for the world to be going through what feels like the end of the world, apocalyptic times between COVID and quarantine and the strike and the fires and war breaking out. So it's quite phenomenal to be a part of something that ultimately is really meaningful to people because it provides fun and laughter and a breath of fresh air at a time that is so tumultuous right now. But it's also really cool to be a part of something that feels like it's intertwining with our reality pretty closely.
Yeah, it's resonates so much. I mean, we've got aliens, we got humans,
We got everything. This could be
you
just like
know,
our constant through line.
but
We got it
but it
all.
also this
But
really wonderful like lens into diversity too at the same time. We were talking about, things that are topical.
yes.
and you may not think about it in that way because it's
Yes, I,
throwing
you
you
know,
off from the comedy, but this is the forefront of the series. It's aliens, immigrants, humanity.
yes, absolutely. Actually, one of the coolest stories I heard about, they do what's called, gosh, I'm forgetting the term, but it's like groups that watch the pilot before the show airs. I can't remember, and someone out there listening to this is like
Like a
yelling at the
focus
screen.
group.
Yeah, focus group. At least that you just yelled. It was good. Yes. So one of the stories that Chris shared with us from the beginning focus groups after the pilot was that there were immigrants from Japan that had immigrated and came to the States and felt really lost and new and fresh and still trying to figure things out. And they were like crying after they saw the pilot because they felt really seen by Harry. They felt really connected to his character. They felt like his experience crash landing in a small town, trying to make it and trying to disguise themselves so that they are protected, was also relatable. And it really touched my heart when I heard that. And I thought, if that's just from one focus group of a pilot, imagine what this show can do for other people who are watching it. And one of my biggest goals as an actor is to be able to reach people through their TV screens in their living room and make them feel not alone and make them feel seen and heard. And I mean, that's my favorite shows. My favorite shows are watching my friends, you know, like I watch Felicity, Dawson's Creek from back in the day, like Friends, obviously, you know, like there's these shows that stay with us over time, and you do feel like they become people you really care about, mostly because you see yourselves in them. And so it's really nice to have a show, including an alien who is relatable. Like, how fun, because most of us do feel alien. It's why one of my favorite lines that I got from the pilot was, being human is alien to me. And it is. And so I think we're really lucky to have had such a great rate, to be by Chris Sheridan, to be trusted by Sci-Fi and NBC. You know, there was a couple of other networks that passed on it in the beginning, and Sci-Fi took a real chance on us, and I'm glad they did. And I think it was for their benefit too, and I think it was mutual. So
Yeah, in sci-fi has taken on the network has taken on shows like Resident Alien and it's taken on shows like Winona Earp from back in the day and
yeah,
um
they back in the day they did Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, which
right.
was my first venture into sci-fi. Obviously, I had seen things like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, but I wasn't really a sci-fi person until I watched that show. And I realized Battlestar Galactica was the first show that made me realize it didn't matter what genre of storytelling. If the story was good and the characters had chemistry that was electric, then you were in it, you know? And I think it's really easy for audiences to hear the word sci-fi and to be turned off or turned away. I mean, I think sci-fi and fantasy in general as a genre gets no respect. I mean, it gets respect in the fandom world, but it gets no respect in the Emmy world, you know, in the
Right.
Oscar world. I like a little bit, you know, a little bit of recognition, like Game of Thrones got definite recognition. Even Battlestar Galactica back in the day got recognition for makeup and set design and things like that. But in general, it's not the forefront of respect as a genre for the higher ups. And so it's, to me, it's hard because as a team, as a story, as a cast, you want to be seen, you want to be respected, you want to be heard. But at the end of the day, like, what are awards anyway? Like, as long as we reach people in a meaningful way, that's all that really matters. And that is true for a lot of this type of genre when it's good storytelling.
Absolutely. You're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, it does not get enough respect. It does not get enough attention, and
Yeah.
the performances that people are giving, the messages, like especially with Resident Alien as well. Like this, there's themes of this like found family and so many different layers. Like
Oh yeah.
Darcy and Asta, whether it's Harry and Asta, Darcy, like all the women
Yeah, all
with
the different
Liv.
combinations.
Yeah, it's giving so many
Even
confidence.
that sweet episode, right? Yeah, like that sweet episode, the girls episode where we invite Kate in, we're like, look, you didn't grow up with us, but you're here now and you're one of us because you're with us. Like I'm with you. It's something we don't talk about a lot, I think, in the interviews is yeah, the very many chosen family elements of this show that really is so relatable because you grow up, you move away, or even you have your own life outside of your family life, your family home life, and a lot of people don't even have a good home life. So chosen family is necessary for survival.
And Asta's relationship with her daughter as well, having that
Yeah.
as a focus and having her re-enter her life and having a meaningful relationship or and a really wonderful bond that's developed to get to watch that as well. So
Yeah. I mean, how cool to have. I mean, I think Chris just did such a good job combining drama and comedy and to have a story that is so heartbreaking. Asta has so much shame about giving her daughter up. And then it kind of turns creepy there for a second when she hires her to work with her, you know. But then it turns hopeful when you see that Jay wants to have a relationship with her. And I've heard from other people who've watched that storyline, someone who was a producer on the show. I've heard from other interviewers, people who have had situations that were bad with their birth parents and were very similar, and they felt very seen and heard just seeing that through line. So how cool that a comedy sci-fi show could have such meaning, with such
depth.
heartache. You know.
Well, speaking of relationships, Asta's relationship with Harry has really evolved so much, and of course been tested time and time again over these last four seasons. But the loyalty has always heavily remained for Asta, and between the two of them, what is it that you think what is it that you think it is about them that really kind of continues to connect them and deepen their very unique dynamic at its core?
When they first meet, there's something about him that feels out there. And she's coming out of an abusive relationship, and it's evident that she's not really great at choosing relationships. So when she meets this man who's like strong and weird and bold and brash and tells the truth with no filter, there's something really, I don't know, a breath of fresh air about that. Because all the men in her life have lied to her. Other than her father, who's been quite wonderful and honest with her, she just lied to herself, I think, as she was growing up, trying to figure things out. But she just, we haven't talked about Asta's birth father. So even though Gary Farmer, who plays her dad, is her adopted dad, she's got some daddy issues. She's got issues with men that she doesn't trust, that they leave, that they abandon her. So the fact that we meet Harry as Asta, she meets Harry at a really vulnerable time, and they form this bond about being sort of outsiders. I think that is not only relatable to the audience watching, but to their characters living this story out in a small town where they do feel like they have to disguise their truth, not just about saving the world, but about how they feel about feeling uncomfortable in this situation that really bonds them. And I think over time, what's really cool is in the beginning, Harry and Alan himself didn't know like what it was to be the alien. And by the end, now he's starting to deal with being truly human. And he's still a little bit like uncomfortable and kind of like figuring that out. And there's this juxtaposition of Asta's storyline where she's uncomfortable in her skin about like self-care and self-love and nurturing what needs to be nurtured in her own life, but by the end she becomes much more confident about doing that, and a little bit like wiggly about like, well, what if I go beyond patience and see what's out there. There's this idea that maybe that she can, I don't know, go exploring or something. So I think they end up having a very similar arc, like a story arc and a trajectory for what they've been through, but they help each other because when she's feeling low, he's feeling good. And when he's feeling low, she's feeling good. And that comes together quite nicely by season 4.
I was gonna say she quite often, for the most part, puts others before herself. She's got this selflessness about her. But
Yeah.
is that really like a defense mechanism, or is that like an attribute, like an attribute for herself? Because I feel like at time it could be situational, but for the most part, I feel like it's kind of like it's a good quality to have, of course. You want,
Yes.
but
It's funny. I've uh, Darcy and I, played by Alice Wetterland. Alice and I um, have always joked that this is the atypical AA Al-Anon relationship. And for those of you who don't know, AA is Alcoholics Anonymous, people who struggle with alcohol in their lives. And Al-Anon are the people who struggle with alcoholics in their lives, especially alcoholics that they love. And what ends up happening is it's people who have, a mental disease, and people who want to fix that disease. And so they have their own mental disease. And so Asta is really a nurturer by nature because she is just a people pleaser and she wants to do good and she has so many things going on in her own life that she wants to distract herself from. And so it seems like, you know, um, this really lovely like character trait, but actually I think Harry calls her out at some point in season 3, or maybe it's Darcy, or maybe it's both of them, but they call her out and they say, like, you're being a martyr. Like, you're not taking care of people because you really want to take care of people. You're taking care of people because you don't want to take care of yourself. And isn't that true probably for most Al Anon people? Most Al Anon people, and I can relate because I'm an Al Anon person, like, I, you do want to take care of other people because it is selfish because taking care of other people makes you feel good, because whenever you're not taking care of other people you don't feel good. And so I think Asta just really struggles with, how do I feel good in my body, in my skin, not taking care of other people, taking care of myself, not knowing all the answers, and still being, you know, willing to feel pain, because that's really what it comes down to. We're all constantly distracting ourselves from pain. Even Harry, when he feels the pain in season 3 of his first heartache from Heather leaving the nest, like, Harry is constantly dealing with human angst and anguish and pain, which is why in season 4, let me just say, he gets mad at her for not knowing that he was the mantid. But I feel like Meredith Garrettson, who plays Kate, brought this up to me. Wouldn't he also be, if he's experimenting with all these emotions, wouldn't he also be experimenting with depression and anxiety? And maybe Asta is like, well, I mean, maybe you just decided to pick up smoking. I don't know. So I just feel like there's this wonderful thing between Harry and Asta that's constantly being, and just like all the characters constantly being talking about what's true and what's underneath it all, and how what's true about that, and how can we bring that up to the surface and be honest about that. And we do it in a really funny way too. We make you laugh while we make you cry.
yeah, when you're helping someone else, or thinking of someone else's problems, or like, you don't have to deal with your own. You can kind of compartmentalize, and you don't have to worry about what's going on in your own life, and what needs fixing there, or what needs maintenance there, in any way. So
Yeah.
you don't have to stop and worry about your own problems when you're fixing someone's.
Yeah.
It's the
So I
old thing,
just
like, you're
feel
giving
like,
advice to someone else that you wouldn't take for yourself.
yeah, so I feel like it's just, what she's doing is really quite common, and I think it's hard to look yourself in the mirror, to look yourself in the eye and say I love you. It's so much easier to say I love you to other people. Um I think for the most part. I'm sure there's other people out there who are like, "Oh, I don't say I love you to anyone." But that I feel like there's two different types of people, and Darcy's on one side, Asta's on the other, and those two types of people always end up being in a relationship together. You know, they always end up either getting married or being best friends or like sharing life together because that's what life is this yin and yang.
The coin
You
flip,
know?
for sure. I always enjoy when the entire group of ladies get together, like we talked about. But also, this season it seems like everybody is kind of split into different kind of factions. There's Darcy and Asta together, and then there's like Liz and Mike, and there's Ben and Kate are having moments. But I wanted to ask what maybe you can kind of tease is a catalyst or coming up, what maybe kind of helps to intertwine this group again together because I feel
Oh, yes. Well, obviously, yes, it's very fun when we can all be together, like Harry's birthday party, season two. What's coming up is some big reveals, which it's about time, right? We're all pretty like, Harry can't be, you know, disguised forever. If, especially if we're all really going to bring these story arcs together and to a head. So I feel like without any spoilers, it's a pretty obvious sign that our little group is going to find some things out sort of simultaneously in our various stages of our story, and at some point we are going to have to come together to band together you know, what is it, fire, water, wind,
yeah, yeah, air,
heart,
the
you
element, yeah.
know, like um I feel like that's just everyone's aching for that. I'm aching for that. Aren't you aching for that, Lisa? For us to finally come together and just tell the truth?
It's been building for so long, and you
It's
guys were on
been
a spaceship
building
together, but
like
you
a
like missed each
volcano or
other.
something.
Like everybody has a separate story, but they intersect with each other. They just don't
Yes.
know that they're intersect. Like certain people don't know that they're intersecting with each other.
Yes. It's a little bit like you've seen those movies where there's like a through line where this person, you know, Love Actually is a great example, even though it's a problematic movie, but there's a through line of this person knows this person and this person knows this story. And like we get that a lot in our small town in Patience. And to be fair, I wish that I got to interact more with certain storylines. Like you get to see me hang out with Deputy Liv in season two, but it never happens again. I fight with Sheriff Mike in season one, but we never find out really why I don't like him or why we fight. You know, Kate and I are both moms, but we never talk about it. We never talk about that we both lost a child. Like there's these little things that if we had more time or if we had more seasons, maybe we could go further in these developments. But it's really cool when we do find what does connect us, and it just seems to be that Harry is kind of that center focus.
Well, as we do come here to the finale, as we'll eventually approach the finale, and your time being a part of Resident Alien and our manifestation for another season for season five, what has really been your biggest takeaway from being a part of the series, and of course portraying such a beloved, character of Asta?
This show has changed my life. I was a waitress for 20 years before I booked this show. You know, when you're a waitress and you're just thinking about one day I'll finally be able to go to set and that's my only job. And, you know, when we booked the pilot, I still didn't do that. I still went back to work as a waitress for a year because you never know. And I'm glad I did because it took a year for season one to get picked up. But when I like dropped that apron off for the last time right before season one started, it I remember thinking, this is it. I'm walking away from this part of my life forever. Even if my career has its ebbs and flow and its ups and downs, this is a really monumental moment for me where a real dream is coming true. I am truly going to go on set, and that is my job, which is what we work so hard for as actors. So I'm going to always be so grateful to Resident Alien for shifting my career and pivoting it into a much more serious, like legitimate level of existence. But it's just the beginning, which is what's really exciting about it for me and for all of us with Resident Alien. You know, Alan Tudyk is a great example of someone who's been in the business 20 years longer than I have, and yet he's never played a lead role. And this is like his first real lead role in a series. This was a big deal for him. A lot of us had done, you know, maybe other shows, but hadn't done shows of this nature at this caliber. So Resident Alien has really kind of helped us all take that next step up in our career. But it's just one small step, you know. One giant leap is coming, and even if it doesn't, you know, happen with this show after season 4, this show will have been a huge part of how we got to that giant leap, and I think we'll all be so grateful for that. And I'm just really so grateful for all the fans I get to talk to who love Asta, who love her storyline, who watch the show. I mean, there's so much content out there. I'm just honored whenever anybody comes up and says, "Hey, I know you, I know the show, it's good." I'm just always so floored and thankful because there's so much to watch and you didn't have to choose us to hang out with. And when you do, it makes my heart smell, you know? So I hope that this show continues to reach people for years to come. I hope it's a show like thing I watch years from now where I just hang out with my friends because I know them and I watch it over and over because it's familiar. And I'm sure that's a way of dealing with anxiety, but we can talk about that some other time.
We'll do
I
therapy
hope,
together some other time.
yeah, I hope that, you know, Resident Alien, if season 4 is it, I hope that everyone is happy with how we, you know, came together from 1 to 4 and finished these storylines in a really beautiful way. And if season 4 is not it, I'm beyond excited to explore what happens after this. So we'll see.
Well, from my personal perspective as a fan who's gotten to watch, I've loved the evolution of your character. I've loved being a part of the journey of everyone together. I've loved every ladies' night and, you know, finding each other again and learning new things about each other and kind of just feeling also a part of this core that has had a really wonderful impact on so many of us. So thank you for being a part of the series. Thank you for making the series. Thank you for all that you do to really make so many of us, as we talked about, like feel so seen and feel like these stories have a place.
Thanks, Lisa. You're making me cry. Stop it.
No,
Thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate your words, and I hear you, and I do see you. And I've seen you since season 1, and I love that we keep having these conversations. And I hope that we get to continue having conversations about this project and many others for years to come.
yes, we're gonna steal it. Thank you so much for always being so wonderful and just thank you again for the important stories that you're bringing to our screens.